Okay, let's take a closer look at one of my favorite artists. His name is Kandinsky. He is an abstract expressionist artist, which means he doesn't paint people, places, or things. He expresses the way he feels with lines, shapes, and colors. So let's take a closer look at his artwork, and then we'll talk about it. And then we will also create our own abstract expressive artwork as a reaction to what we see when we hear sounds of music. So let's first take a look at this video and then we'll get started.
What do you hear when you see this? These figures at the bottom left, is this a murmuring crowd or a group waiting quietly for something to happen? What about this black monolith? A dead, empty space, or an instrument? A piano maybe? If it's a piano, what is it playing? Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Debussy, or maybe even Schoenberg or Scriabin? But what do you hear when you see this colour? Anything? For the artist, for Vasily Kandinsky, this colour sounded like loud, sharp trumpets. He had what's called synesthesia, a condition where people experience the activation of one sense as the result of experiencing another. For Kandinsky, this meant that when he heard sounds, he saw colour. And when he saw colour, he heard music. And this painting, Impression 3, Concert, is his visual response to the experience of hearing a concert of music by his contemporary and friend, the composer Arnold Schoenberg. What this painting tells us is that colour and its relationship with sound and music are very important to him, but it also shows us Kandinsky's drive to make his paintings more abstract, to make art that lacked any representation of objects or anything in nature. Kandinsky believed that the more abstract the form, the more clear and direct its appeal, and he felt that music was the pinnacle of abstraction. He wrote the following: "Music has been the art which has devoted itself not to the reproduction of natural phenomena, but rather to the expression of the artist's soul." You can listen to Debussy's La Mer, for example, in the knowledge that it's an impressionistic depiction of the sea, waves, storm and wind. But you can also listen without knowing anything about the composition, and it can still have a profound effect. Music is inherently abstract, and this is what Kandinsky was aiming for in art. He wanted his paintings to be an expression of an inner need, an expression of his soul. Kandinsky was born in Moscow in 1866, and he began his career studying and eventually teaching law and economics. It was only through two formative experiences that he would eventually abandon his teaching career to become an artist. One was an exhibition of Monet's work in Moscow in 1896, where he saw one of his haystacks. He was struck by the thought that it was the colour and form that was triggering his emotional response, and not the objects, the haystacks themselves. And the second experience was a performance of Wagner's opera Lohengrin at the Bolshoi Theatre, also in 1896. He spoke about the experience later on. "I saw all my colours in spirit before my eyes. Wild, almost crazy lines were sketched in front of me." A pretty amazing statement when you think that he painted this later in his life. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The challenge in 1896 for Kandinsky was how to both develop the abstraction that he saw in Monet's haystacks, but also how to match, in art, the freedom of expression he felt music had already achieved. Over the next few years, he moved to Munich to study, travelled extensively, was exposed to read and absorbed the principles of theosophy and began experimenting with colour and form. You can see his moves towards abstraction appearing very early on. In 1903, he paints this, Der blaue Reiter, the Blue Rider. It's clearly representational, but colour is becoming more important. The rider is made up of a series of colours, and the objects themselves seem like a secondary consideration. Blue was clearly an important colour for Kandinsky. In 1909, he finishes this canvas, The Blue Mountain. There's clear influence of Fauvism here. Flat planes and blocks of colour where each colour is treated as equally important. Kandinsky was obsessed with experimentation and drawn into increasingly progressive surroundings. In 1911 he formed Der Blaue Reiter, a new artists collective named after his 1903 canvas that was designed to bring together the best artistic talent in Munich. This was a group this period that Kandinsky not only began to radically shift his approach to painting, but also to distill his ideas in written form. In 1912, he published one of the most influential essays on painting, concerning the spiritual in art. Here he laid down his ideas on the dematerialization of art, but alongside this, he also gave significant insights into how he thought about colour. For Kandinsky, every colour had a feeling, a sensation, and a sound. Green is the most restful colour that exists. In music, the absolute green is represented by the placid middle notes of a violin. White has the harmony of silence, which works upon us negatively, like many pauses in music that break the melody. A total dead silence has the inner harmony of black. In music, it is represented by one of those profound and final pauses, after which any continuation of the melody seems the dawn of another world. Black is the colour of least harmony at all. Light warm red is the sound of trumpets, strong, harsh, and ringing. Cool red, madder, is the sad middle tones of a cello. Orange's note is that of an angelus or of an old violin. Violet is an English horn or the deep notes of a wood instrument such as the bassoon. And blue is the heavenly colour. A light blue is like a flute, a darker blue a cello. Darker is a thunderous double bass. And the darkest blue of all, an organ. Kandinsky wanted to find a means of communication that was universal through perception of colour. Colour is the keyboard, the eyes are the hammers, the soul is the piano with many strings. The artist is the hand which plays, touching one key or another to cause vibrations in the soul. But colour can't stand alone. If you try and imagine something red, you can experience a never-ending colour in your mind. But as soon as you try and represent it on a material, it's limited by the canvas or screen that you're seeing it on. And perhaps the best examples of these are Kandinsky's own groundbreaking works that he dedicated 19 years of his life to, 10 paintings, entitled, appropriately, Composition 1 to 10. Kandinsky viewed his compositions as the most important works in his output, and in making these paintings, he set out to achieve his most important goal, to reach the level of abstraction that he experienced when he heard music. This is Kandinsky setting colour in motion, using overlapping forms, rhythms and motifs to create pure art, which on first viewing seems completely lacking in any form of representation. Nothing in our natural world seems to be present here. But if you look closer, these paintings are actually full of objects, like the reclining figures in Composition 4, the boat with figures and oars in Composition 5, or the angel holding a yellow trumpet at the top of the canvas in Composition 7. Composition 7 is a particularly interesting example of a symphonic work. Multiple motifs overlap simultaneously to create a mass of colour that's incredibly rhythmically complex. Your eyes dart across the canvas. This feels like a perfect artistic representation of the dissonant, free chromatic music written by Schoenberg and his contemporaries at the same time Composition 7 was painted. But it could be argued that Kandinsky's next work in the series, Composition 8, was the closest he ever got to music in art. It's constructed around a number of geometric forms, circles, semicircles, open-ended acute angles, squares and rectangles, some coloured, some taking on the off-white colour of the background. Colours on this canvas combine like musical chords. Consonant and dissonant harmonies are heard simultaneously, one followed by another without resolution. On top of this, lines and shapes create forms and melodies that run and bleed into each other, creating long, drawn-out motifs. Viewing Composition 8 is like listening to a piece of music in the blink of an eye, with the harmonies and rhythms all being played at the same time. And so the arts are encroaching, one upon another, and from this will rise the art that is truly monumental. Every man who steeps himself in the spiritual possibilities of his art is a valuable helper in the building of the spiritual pyramid, which will someday reach to heaven. So the next time you're looking at a painting, just ask yourself, what does this sound like?
Okay, let's take a closer look at this specific artwork by Kandinsky, Who can tell me, go ahead and tell me, what are some of the things that you literally see in this picture? Okay, well, I see circles, squiggly lines, diagonal lines, straight lines, wavy lines. I see shapes like rectangles and squares and triangles and crosses and double circles and half circles. I see colors, different colors, faded colors, vivid colors. Go ahead and tell me, who can, go ahead and tell me what are some of the things that are the same throughout the picture? Go ahead and tell me now. Okay, well, I see some of the same shapes. They might be different sizes or different colors, but I see some of the same shapes, like same circles and half circles, and sometimes they're different sizes, sometimes they're different colors. I see different thicknesses of lines and different directions of lines. Is there anything different throughout the picture? Some of the, go ahead and tell me. Okay, some of the differences, like I said before, the shapes are different sizes and different sizes and colors. The colors are different throughout the picture. The lines are different throughout the picture. This is my favorite question. If this was the cover of a book that you were about to read, use your imagination and tell me, what do you think this story would be about? Go ahead and tell me now. Okay, if you haven't figured it out by now, we are going to make our own abstract expressive artwork. So if you are not ready and you don't have your supplies, go ahead and get those now. You'll need paper and colors, something to color with specifically, and something to draw with, maybe marker or pencil. You pick. Go ahead and get your supplies ready now, and then we'll get started. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are getting our inspiration from Kandinsky, and we are going to make an abstract expressive artwork as a reaction to the music and sounds that we hear. So we're going to listen to different instruments. I want you to picture the way that sound looks in your head. Use your imagination, and then it's almost going to be like your hand is dancing on the paper as a reaction to the way you feel to hearing that music. And we're going to start with the sound of a drum. Okay, so I want you to watch me first, and then I want you to do something similar, not the same, because you might feel different to the sound. Okay, so here we go. Okay, we're starting off with drums. You're going to close your eyes and picture that in your head, right? Well, what color does that drum sound like? It's kind of powerful, right? Short and powerful. Red. Okay. I'm thinking red. Oh, I think I need. Here we go. to that for a minute or so, and I want you to react to it on your paper. I want you to draw that sound on your paper. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, now we're going to listen to a different sound. We're going to listen to a different sound, so you should have a different reaction. Picture it differently in your mind and react to that on your paper, to that feeling it gives you. We're going to listen to a flute now, different sound, a lot lighter. Listen, not as powerful, softer, longer. Okay, my hand is going to be moving on the paper more like this. Right? In my mind, I'm seeing smaller. You know, long, glittering across my paper. That's what I see in my mind. Okay, go ahead and take a minute or so. Listen to the flute and react to that on your paper. Go ahead and do that now. Pick a color. And your color will be different because you react differently to that sound. How does it make you feel? Do you see shapes when you hear this? Do you see lines? What colors do you see? React. Draw that on your paper. Take a moment to do that now. Okay, now we're going to listen to a different instrument. We heard the short, powerful, loud drum. Then we heard the soft, long flute. Right? Now I'm no music expert, but this sounds like a medium, one in the middle, a clarinet. It's a medium sound, I think. So listen to this and then react to it on your paper. Go ahead and watch me do it first. Here's the sound. Long like the flute. Put it in your mind. A little bit more powerful though. It's a deeper sound, right? introduction to that sound. I hear a long sound though too. Okay, go ahead and do that now. Okay, we're going to switch to a very exciting instrument, in my opinion, the electric guitar. So we'll listen, think about the way you feel, try to picture it in your mind. What line, shape, or color does it look like to you in your mind, that sound? And then we're going to draw it on the paper. Here, I'll start and I'll show you first. It can be short like a drum, it can be long like a flute, soft, it can be loud. Switching to black. And marker. There I go. Okay, go ahead and take a moment to listen to that, react to it on your paper. The color, shape, line, it looks like in your mind. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, I hope you had fun learning about Kandinsky and abstract expressive art. And I hope you had fun making an abstract expressive art as a reaction to the music that we were listening to. I know I had fun doing this. If you didn't get a chance to finish this, go ahead and finish it up over the next week. Make sure you bring it to class to show me so you get credit for it. If you really want to go out of your way to do some extra artwork this week, pick your favorite song, listen to it, try and listen for the different instruments, and then draw those different instruments on your paper and see what it looks like. See what your favorite song sounds look like to you in artwork form. That would be really cool. I really, really look forward to seeing your artwork, and I look forward to seeing you guys during our next class. Have a great day.